What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Kaleb Davis, and I have notes. Today, we're continuing with our Monday night special, and I have three things that I wanted to cover tonight. For starters, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Warriors and their success this season. They're currently sitting at first in the West, and I don't know about you, but this was not very speculated about them this season. So it's exciting to see them back on top in the West. And then moving forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about Philadelphia. They're big three, and their awful start to the season. They're currently sitting at 14th in the Eastern Conference, which is very surprising considering the East is playing well below their means this season, and it's been a pretty clear balance of power between the East and the West. So surprising to see. And then I'm gonna finish off with touching on the Lakers getting absolutely pummeled by the Nuggets. And I'm more so gonna focus on the Nuggets front because I have talked about the Lakers a bit in the past, but I'm so excited to get started. So, like I mentioned before, I'm going to talk about the Warriors being first in the West. And this is despite Curry being injured for a couple of games. He rolled his ankle earlier in the season. And the thing with the Warriors, their motto, like always, has been strength in numbers. And I think this season is especially indicative of that. If you look at their roster this season, they just have so many talented players. Like up down the roster, they have starter quality guys, and it's kind of shown. They've been running a 12-man rotation, and if you heard Kerr say that at the start of the season, you kind of took that with a grain of salt because it sounds like there's no way during an NBA regular season that you're going to be able to keep 12 guys happy with their playing time, it just keep guys involved in the game. It's a tough situation and it's a tough ask, but he's made it work. And I think the biggest thing with the 12-man rotation, and it's shown on the defensive end, is it allows guys to play harder in their, 8 to 20 minute spurts, whatever you're playing, versus trying to conserve energy when you're playing 30, 35 minutes. There's just a big difference in the amount of effort and energy that you can give on a play by play basis. And it's shown. Like I mentioned before, they're fourth currently in defensive rating, which is very impressive for the Warriors. And that's always been one of their calling cards when during their title runs. They've always had a top 10 defense outside of the season with Kevin Durant, where I think they were top 11 or top 12. So right there. But the biggest thing that I think this rotation that he's running does for the Warriors is you got to think Curry and Draymond are not as young as they used to be. And bringing in so much talent and allowing to go so deep into your bench, it helps to keep Curry and Draymond's minutes down. So, one, you're managing their workloads. They don't have to do as much. They're not asked to do as much. And they have a lot more athletes around them that can kind of not make up, but add and kind of take the pressure off of them to always perform at their peak selves. And then I just I think it's so impressive how the Warriors have been able to keep guys around Curry and to kind of capitalize on him even as he ages. Like they had the title run a couple years back when everyone kind of wrote off the Warriors, and time again, the Warriors have continued to put talent around Curry and Draymond and Clay at the time, but also just show their competence because you have an aging star. And I wish other teams like I don't know the Lakers or the Suns to kind of take note of this and do a better job at surrounding their stars with talent so you don't have to overwork them. Like nobody on this team averages over 30 minutes of playing time, which a team with Steph Curry doesn't even, he plays about 29 minutes, which if you compare that to stars around the league, you just don't see that a lot. And it just, everyone's more fresh. Like guys don't have to not try as hard, but guys don't have to overextend themselves and you need a breather. It just makes for a better playing product, honestly, because they've been playing a lot better. And I just want to give a quick appreciation or quick sidebar. As I've gotten older, my appreciation for the greats, like especially the ones that are starting to fade away, it has just increased. Like guys like Katie and Curry, especially. I've always been a big LeBron fan, and when they teamed up, they cost LeBron a title or two, in my opinion. And that's up for debate with a lot of you guys. I know people you might want to argue that that's not what this is about, but I've always had like a sort of disdain for them because they were responsible for LeBron not getting rings. And back when I was younger, I just didn't appreciate them as much. Like I used to never want to watch like Warriors games just because of Curry or Durant, and especially once he moved to Brooklyn, I was still watching, but it's a different. I'm watching through a different lens now, and you just appreciate it more because they're not going to be here that much longer. And the greats of our generation are starting. They're starting to age out, and it's kind of showing my age. I'm not that old, but it's sad to see. So like I try and watch every Lakers game, every Warriors game that I can, every Suns game, even the Clippers. Sometimes I like watching Harden. It's just you gotta appreciate these guys while they're here, and I guess that's kind of my takeaway from this. But yeah, the Warriors have been great, and it's interesting to see like if they finish this season first in the West, or if they finish even in like the top two, top three. I still think the Warriors should make a move, and try and consolidate some of the role players to bring in a star, like shot creator. I don't know if I'm not even going to try and speculate names right now. I still think if they can, because in the playoffs you cannot run a 12-man rotation. That just won't work. But up until the deadline, they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to keep winning, and it's just I'm happy to see Curry still winning games and being at the top of the West. So kudos to them. But moving forward, I want to talk a little about Philadelphia and their horrendous start to the season. So as far as their status, they're currently sitting at 14th in the East, and they have the second worst record in the league. Now, if I were to tell you that at the beginning of the year that the Sixers were going to start this way and they were going to end up like this, you would look at me crazy because they have 3 star level players. So we thought. And I'm not going to get into questioning how good they are right now. They haven't been good this season, though. None of the 3 of Maxey, Embiid, or Paul George have held up their end of the bargain. And I had them as a top 5 team in my championship rankings coming into the season. And I'm pretty sure that was like a universal take. Like, people thought that they were going to be a really good team and they were going to win a lot of games because you have so much star power. And it just hasn't panned out that way. And it's been hard to watch. Like, I love Joel Embiid. I really do. I love his touch. I love his footwork. And just his skill as a big man, it makes him an anomaly amongst other bigs because you don't see a lot of big guys at his size that are able to shoot as well as him, move as well as him, and just do the things that he does. And then Paul George, that's been my favorite player since I was a kid. So I'm always rooting for him. So that's why I was very excited to see the Sixers this year. And yes, they have been riddled by the injury bug, and like Paul George has been in and out. He's hyperextended the same leg twice, the same knee twice. Like, you can't predict that stuff, but it's unfortunate. And Maxey got hurt, and B's been not even available all season. So I'm just gonna go down the list, and I just want to talk a little bit about how many games these guys have played. So Embiid has played 4 out of the Sixers' 16 games this season, and he's averaging 15 points less this season than he did last, which, yes, the sample size is quite small, but even in the games he's played, he hasn't been really good. He hasn't played the same, and he just doesn't look like he's healthy, which it's I don't know what to tell the Sixers because this is the start of the season. Like, yeah, we have a lot more games ahead of us, a lot more time ahead of us, and it's hard to keep taking yourself out of the lineup and then exerting yourself and trying to get back in the rhythm and work yourself back into shape. And that leads to more injuries when you're out of shape playing heavy minutes. So I don't really see a path where this season he comes back healthy and the Sixers kind of get it together. Like, not this season. And then Maxey, he's been out there when he has been, but he's been solid when he has been available because obviously he's been playing with a lot less. But he's played 10 out of the 16 games, and for him, it's been his 3-point shooting. Last season, he was an amazing shooter, especially off the catch, off the dribble. He's so fast, and this season he's shooting 29.5% from 3. And I give him a little bit of leeway because he's been playing a much larger role with the Sixers than expected. Like, he was out there solo for a majority of his game. So he's just had a tougher responsibility. There's been tougher assignments on him, more eyes on him. The coverages have been different and just more responsibilities. So he's a great shooter, and I think he's going to pick that back up eventually during the course of the season. I'm not too worried about that, but for them to start winning games, he has to improve. And then Paul George, he's played 8 out of the 16 games this season. And like I said, he's been injured, and they've been real injuries, but it's just so frustrating. And especially for him, I can't even imagine how that feels to hyperextend the same leg. You finally start getting back into game shape, and then boom, just like that, you're out again. It sucks. But in the games that he's played, he hasn't played well. He's averaging 15 on 38% from the field and 27% from three, which is well below his means. And you just don't want to see that out of this big three. And I don't think the thing that I don't think people realize is with guys like Joel Embiid and Paul George, they're older and they're up there in age, especially Embiid as far as like wear and tear on his body. And as you get older, you're not going to get more healthy. So outside of this season and next, if they don't find a way to capitalize and to get these guys on the court together, this whole big three experience is going to turn out one of those epic failures that we see around the league. Every couple of years, you see a super team, a big three try and pair up, and it just doesn't pan out. This is looking like one of those situations if they don't start to get it together. And I don't really know how. You can't control injuries. So, and that's kind of been my harping point with Embiid. Like they try and sit him out and rest him and avoid, like he said, he's avoiding playing back to backs. But I think because freak injuries happen, like his injury with, I think it was Jonathan Kuminga who fell on his knee last year. That was unavoidable. It was a freak injury. Like stuff like that. He could sit out 10 games and then play one, get hurt in that game. So I think you play as much as you can. And when you need to rest, you rest. You don't like, there's just a better way to go about it, in my opinion. But I'm also not a doctor, so I will mention that as an aside. But the one bright spot with the Sixers, they have two things going for them. One, Jared McCain. He has been their most consistent player. He's played in every game this season. And as a rookie, he was given an opportunity, and he's seized the moment. And it just wasn't expected, in my opinion. He's been their most consistent player. He's averaging 16 points per game as a rookie, and he's shooting 40% from three. And the biggest thing for him, from my perspective, is I think he has great shot selection. Like he's very good at getting in the lane, shooting his little floaters, pull up middies. Like he gets to his spots very well. He's very, very confident, and I love. Like I'm a big smile guy. I'm always smiling, cheery because it helps with morale, and I think he's a big boost to this team in that front. So you could just tell like his energy just being around him. He seems like he's a good guy. Like he got stuff. Has a lot going for him, and you can't hate on the guy. And he's also an okay defender, especially for his size and his frame. Like he's a smaller guy compared to NBA standards. And I'm happy for him. He's been making the best of a bad situation and building his brand. So I hope he continues to excel. And things moving forward, like the Sixers have a quote unquote fourth option going for, like, you have more firepower than you expected. So like you got to capitalize on this stuff. And the other bright spot is the East is horrible this season. God awful. I think as of this recording, I think only 4 teams in the East are above 500, which is, I think, the top 11 or 12 in the West are 500, if that puts it in perspective for you. So there's a big gap in talent. For my last topic today, I want to talk a little bit about the Lakers and how the Nuggets absolutely destroyed them. The score of that game on Saturday was 127-102 in a Lakers loss. And it was even more than that before the reserves came in. It was the Lakers' first home loss on the season. And I'm going to kind of break this down from both teams' perspectives. So I want to start with the Nuggets and some of my key takeaways. The Nuggets defense has looked, in my opinion, a lot better with Christian Brown starting instead of KCP. They're currently sitting at top 12 in defensive rating this season. And I just think Christian Brown, he's a better athlete. He's bigger. He's stronger than KCP. And he just offers a lot more versatility, especially when Aaron Gordon's out there. He's been hurt for a little bit, but he just offers more versatility in their defensive lineups. He's able to guard up and down, which is something that KCP kind of struggled with. Like a guy like Christian Brown can go from guarding Anthony Edwards to, you can try putting him on, say, like LeBron for a play. You can just move him around a lot more. Whereas like KCP, he was struggling with Ant, and you definitely can't try like getting him in a switch on Brown, like stuff like that. You just won't see that happening. And I think they've also made additions kind of by subtraction, losing a couple guys, like bringing in Russ and then having like Peyton Watson get more playing time. And like I mentioned, Christian Brown, it just makes their team, their profile, like their athletic profile bigger. Like they have a lot more bigger, stronger, faster athletes out there. And I think that works really well with Jokic, who's not the best athlete, and having guys who can run the break and he can throw kick ahead passes or who can help him out on defense, make rotations. It's just that's how the Nuggets have been winning games. And I want to give Christian Braun a quick shout out because he's averaging 16 this season. He's definitely stepped into the moment, and he's outplayed KCP this season. How he's been playing on the Magic. Brown's shooting 46.3% from three, also as an aside, but that is on only 3 attempts per game. So in a higher volume, that'll likely come down. But he's been doing his job in that starting role, and also like how the Nuggets have been winning. Jokic has just been playing out of his mind. His averages are insane. He's averaging a career high in points, rebounds, assists, and 3-point percentage. And currently he's shooting 56.3% from three as a big man. Like that is insane. And I imagine by the end of the season, he's probably going to stay up unless he goes on a horrible shooting slump up in the high 40s. He's going to be one of the best 3-point shooters in the league this season. And that's been something we've harped on time and time again. And that makes him unguardable. When you have a big out there who can play make, who can draw the other bit, like it does so much for their offense. And you saw it in this game. Like when Anthony Davis has to run and close out to Jokic, it's different when Jokic is shooting 56% from three versus when he's shooting, 31, 32. Like you can provide like a light closeout. You don't have to run up and super close. Like it changes things offensively for them. And another like prop to Jokic, he's second in points per game this season, first in rebounds, and second in assists. Just insane production. And if he keeps this up all season, I don't see a way he doesn't win his 4th MVP. But yeah, just in this game, he did so much damage to Anthony Davis. He's just bigger, and his frame, he's just built a lot bigger than Anthony Davis, and he's able to move him around. You saw that a lot in the post. He's able to seal guys off, get little tip rebounds. Like he had that seal where he had 3 Lakers guards like all around him, and they just threw it up, and he just tipped it in with one hand while he holds the guys off. Like stuff like that's impressive. But it's also due to size and on the Lakers front, the lack thereof. Now moving on to MPJ, because I feel like he was kind of the hero in this game, especially coming out of halftime. It feels like every time he matches up against the Lakers, he kills us. He's just bigger than any defender that we can really put out there on him. Like they have Rui on him. Even Rui is 6'8". Like MPJ is still 6'10". He's taller than him. Like, so he's always able to out-rebound us. He's always able to just shoot over everyone. And the Lakers don't have a defender who's big enough to stay with him and move around with him, like big enough and mobile enough to move around with him while also being able to match him on a lot of those fronts. So it's just a tough matchup. And then I think it just shows like the Lakers just have, the Nuggets just have the Lakers number. Like there's nowhere else to put it. Like it feels like a cycle. But moving on a little bit, I want to talk about Jamal Murray because I think the Nuggets have been winning despite his play and in spite of him. Like he's really struggled this season by his standards. And honestly, since the second half of last season, like into the playoffs and the Olympics, he's been pretty bad for his standards. This season, he's shooting the lowest field goal percentage of his career at 39.8. And all I'm going to say is I think the Nuggets, he has to play better if the Nuggets want to reach that championship ceiling and be right back there in top tier contention. But Jokic is holding up his end of the bargain. MPJ is doing his thing. Christian Braun, everyone had doubts about him moving into that shooting guard spot. He's been doing his thing. Russ has been playing solid off the bench. Like Jamal Murray just has to get it together. And the Nuggets are a scary, scary, scary team, especially in the West. On to the Lakers and kind of my takeaways from their side. Like I said before, I'm not going to talk too much about them. I feel like I talk about them every single video. But it's just the same story. They've lost 13 of their last 14 games against the Nuggets. So clearly the Nuggets have a mental advantage, and it's just a bad matchup for them. Like in this game, AD and Bron didn't play well at all. And I think if they play better and they play like if they have a normal game, the game looks a lot different. I can't confidently say they would have won this game if AD and Bron play better, because the Nuggets always find a way to get it close and then game us or go on a run. Like, it just always happens like that. But Bron had 6 turnovers in the first 3 quarters. And I thought in the first half he played great defense. Like, normally he's a little more lackadaisical and kind of nonchalant to an extent with how he like moves around and his rotations. Like, he won't, if his rotation is to like move over to the rim and a guy's rolling, like he'll like fake help or fake like he's gonna jump and block it. Like, no, he was actually affecting shots, like moving around, rebounding, forced a couple steals on Jokic, like coming over from the weak side when Jokic wasn't looking, or like blowing up passing lanes. So I do want to cut him some slack on that front, but he's got to be better with his decision making, especially against the Nuggets, which the Lakers are horrible in transition defense. And when you're turning the ball over, especially back to back to back, it's kind of deflating. And it also allows the Nuggets to go out and run in transition. AD also did not play very well in this game. He missed a lot of his normal like face up jab jumpers. Like, he'll do that a lot from like the left wing area. Missed a lot of those. He missed a lot of his floaters. Missed a lot of his close shots. And he kind of was like, he'd be down arguing with the refs if he didn't get a call. He kind of let the game get in his head, I would say. And like, he's going to be better. He's been amazing this season. I'm not worried about either of them in the long run, but it's just so unfortunate to watch. And I think it shows that the Lakers need to make a move. And everyone's been saying this for the past couple of years. And every single deadline, it's the same story. They'll hold on. D'Lo will start playing well. They'll hold on to him. They won't make a move. And you keep running back the same variation of this team. And when you run into the Nuggets, you get your ass kicked every single time. And I don't know what it's going to take for management to understand or figure out that they need to make a move. You need emphasis on that. You need to bring in a perimeter defender who can also shoot to play alongside Austin Reeves. You have to get D'Lo out of there. He's too inconsistent. And especially against the Nuggets, he always plays horrible. And if he's not playing well offensively, you can't have them out there defensively because he is so much of a negative. And I saw a report that the Timberwolves were talking about putting DiVincenzo like up for trade, and I don't think it's going to happen that he ends up with the Lakers, but I think he'd be a great fit next to Austin Reeves at the 2. And when Vando, who's a hypothetical at the moment, because like Ant said, he hasn't been healthy in 2 years, but imagine that lineup where you can have Austin, Dante, Vando, and then Bron and AD. Like, it's just a more cohesive unit. But I also think they need to bring in a backup center who you can trust to not be 50-50, because like Jackson Hayes on any given night, he can be horrible or he can be amazing. Christian Koloko has been solid. Just as a defensive big, like, he's been able to block a couple shots and rebound, but you need better. And they got one guy like Christian Wood potentially coming back eventually, but I don't think he solves that problem either. So I think most importantly, I think you need to bring in a perimeter defender, because at the end of the day, when it comes to playoff time, AD is going to be playing the majority of your minutes at the 5. So that's not really what you should be worried about. And if he gets hurt, like, you have no shot anyway. So I think it's more so bringing in a perimeter defender. And I'm going to go on a quick rant real quick. I just don't want to see the Lakers waste any more of LeBron's last few years. Like, they've been so close. And anytime you have LeBron and AD on your team, 2 top 10 players, you have a shot at the title. And they've been trying to play this window where they sit on their assets and try and wait for when LeBron retires. Oh, we'll have guys like Austin Reeves. Oh, we'll have guys like Rui. We'll have guys to move on with. But I'm of the mindset that when you have a team like this and when you have a shot, you have to go all in, because you don't always have LeBron James on your team. You don't always have Anthony Davis on your team, and you damn sure don't always have them together at the same time, especially Anthony Davis in the height of his career and LeBron still playing as a top 10 player. And for them to keep running this team back, and for like reports to come out that they're content with running this team back, it frustrates me so much, because you are right there. And LeBron is on his last couple of legs, like his last leg. He got a year, 2, maybe 3 left, depending. We no one knows, but I just think you have to make the moves now and you live with the results later. Because if you mess up a situation, you can always bounce back. But if you do nothing and you lose the same way, it's like, what are we doing? And that's all I'm gonna say about that today. It's you can see the frustration, but I just want them to be better. And I hope this deadline they actually make a move to make the team better. Because you finally have a competent coach. Like I said, AD is looking amazing. The best he's played in his career. LeBron and AD have been amazing as jump shooters, which last season they were solid, but they weren't even on this level. Austin Reeves has looked great. Dalton Connect is like you have a squad and you have to capitalize. That's my 2 cents on that. And that's all I have for today. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Peer Review Podcast. Please share the podcast with your friends and family, as well as follow us on X at peerreview_pod and on TikTok at Peer Review Podcast to stay up to date with our latest episodes and releases. This is the Peer Review Podcast, signing off.